We follow our hero Tatsumi, an idealistic young man hailing from a poor village seeking to join the Empire's army. We never find out what that village is, or the Empire, for that matter. Seriously, they don't even mention it. But back to Tatsumi. He has left the village with two other friends, and he has arrived in the capital. Jesus, this doesn't even have a name either. Alone, and discovers that joining the army is no easy task. He soon hears of rumors regarding the Night Raid, a fiendish group of skilled assassins who oppose the Empire. More importantly, gets ripped off by a pair of breasts and is stranded penniless. Luckily, he is saved by a hospital young girl and her family. Then, well, let's just have the episode handle it. Now, Akame Got Kill has been hyped by its fans and fans of the source material as a super edgy dark fantasy where characters are stripped of their plot armor and are always vulnerable to the plot's twists and turns. You know the kind, your Attack on Titan, your Game of Thrones. These shows appeal to through their sheer unpredictability and the I can't fucking believe what went down shock factor. Particularly the hormonal teenager dude bro demographic. Now imagine one of these hormonal teenager dude bros took a pen and paper, storyboarded the world he created in its mind, submitted it to Studio White Fox. You would get Akame Got Kill. As I said, the first problem is the tone. It's scatterbrained as all hell. One moment, Tatsumi or some other member of the Night Raid is mourning the death of a loved one, and then there's a joke about someone's fucking breast size. Let's take an example from the first episode alone. Here, Tatsumi is grieving over the loss of his two best friends. As you can see here, he's completely overcome by his emotions. But, fast forward 5 seconds, you see Tatsumi making this kind of face when Leone is pulling him by the collar, making him join the Night Raid. The animation, the writing, they all conspire to prevent Tatsumi's grief from being anything more than momentary bursts of emotion. Oh, these bursts of emotions come back later. But that leads to the second point, character development. It should be noted, however, Akame Got Kill is a fleshy, gory mess. But it still has the skeleton of an escapist harem, ligaments of fan service between their bounds. And following the ancient proud tradition of harems, the protagonist is a complete walking sleeping pill. Tatsumi is constantly thrust into dangerous situations, always confronting an empire, which has no name, that has betrayed his trust. But he never develops. The writing is too busy detailing situations and not the characters' reactions to these situations. Often, the characters are treated just as another world-building set piece for the story. Tatsumi's sporadic and often illogical outbursts of grief in the beginning of the show are no more personally impactful than the lore behind Akame's sword. Character development is just another tool for the world building. None of the members of the Night Raid become at all compelling throughout the show. Akame remains distant, somewhat badass, with hints of emotion that ultimately fail to make her human. And Bulat is simply there to make two gay panic jokes and be present in a rushed mentor relationship between him and Tatsumi. And the rest are thinly veiled anime archetypes that might please the intended demographic, but not the viewer who came into this series wanting more.
Going back to talk more on the character development. If a writer was more rounded and enabled Tatsumi to deal with his grief, a lot of the future scenes that depended upon a substantiated grief would have been effective. Like Shiel's scene, for instance, where she comforts Tatsumi on episode 5. That scene would have been 20 times more powerful if you make Tatsumi's grief a more real thing in the story. The only time that Tatsumi expressed any sadness at all for his friends is the 1st and 5th episode. Twice in the whole damn series. Twice! All other mention of him are wistful reflections, where Tatsumi has a resolved or melancholic look as he thinks back to them. Look at his face. It's the face of someone who has wrestled at great length with their emotions and has come to terms with it. This is the fucking 3rd episode. He hasn't moved on, and he hasn't come to terms with their death. Unless he never gave a shit about them. Also, Do not kill Shield, and every other single fucking character off for that matter, prematurely. Shield, for example, was only there for 5 episodes. During that time, she had only one real moment of character exposition, while the rest of the time was just her participating in the slice of life comedy routines and adding flavoring into it via her clumsy character archetype. This is the resounding problem for pretty much every other character that's killed, which is 95% of them. Bulat dies immediately 2 episodes later, while receiving even less total focus on Shield. Lubbock literally has no development aside from a crammed-in backstory on episode 13, and is killed off comically on episode 20. The rest of the time he was just a joke character, that's just fair. Chelsea receives a bit more development than the previously mentioned, but is still killed off prematurely on episode 17, before her character and relationships could really go anywhere. The writer decided to go balls to the walls in the last segment of the show, killing off the bulk of the main cast and the protag in 4 episodes, indiscriminately, unjustifiably, and unmeaningfully. For minor characters, this is an even worse problem. Quirky villains that the show calls the Empire's strongest are literally introduced 1 episode and killed off in the next. Hell, 3 of the 4 Rakshasa demons were killed off the episode they were introduced. Dr. Stylish, who was quite significant to the plot, shows up a total of 2 times. 1 to introduce him, and another to kill the gay bastard. Motherfucking Bolik the priest shouldn't even have a name, because his contribution to the plot was equivalent to the background trees. These problems lead to even more problems later onwards. There are lots of moments where the show reaches back to events that have transpired as the emotional foundation for that moment, essentially building off what's been established. Moments like when Tatsumi saved mine. Every single damn reflection that Tatsumi has regarding his resolve, and character depth articulations via flashbacks. The foundation for all of these things are essentially the established characters themselves, and how they've taken shape and developed thus far. Keyword being developed. But when most of the foundation is non-existent, these moments don't actually mean or amount to anything. These moments only come to serve as a glaring reminder of the critical problems that the show has. As if the show is expecting and forcing you to feel bad for characters that they badly develop. Despite its problems, there are still well-executed and memorable moments in the show, albeit quite scarce. The show's main focus is on edgy drama, and because of this, it manages to occasionally deliver half-decent to great scenes that do achieve some degree of distinction when I reflect back on the series and what it accomplishes. Take the scene of Bowles' final moments. Chelsea, showing Bowles just how human his victims were before killing him, was powerful. Bowles was shown to be shy, compassionate, and caring. His job forces him to do indiscriminate acts, strategic murder time in and out, but he shoulders that burden confidently with the support and care of his family. He realizes the inhumanity of his actions and is wistfully aware of the moral gravity it entails. Having that vicious contrast of his compassion and kindness to his indiscriminate killing of people was an extremely effective way for him to face the moral hypocrisy of his actions before his death. His final scene of him acknowledging the sins of his actions but being incapable of coming to terms with it really drove the stake home. His incapability derived simply from his all-too-human desire for life and to see his wife and daughter again. This all made for an effective portrayal of a tragedy within Bowles' life, and is the moment I recall most vividly in the series. This was also the only scene that could lean on something other than character development to make itself compelling. Akame Got Kill is not a well-rounded anime. It's not polished, and the characters don't develop well. The series, however, is an edginess-driven narrative that relies solely, with the one exception, upon the strength of the characters to substantiate the edginess. This also consistently comes into distasteful tonal clashes with the anime's insistent deliverance of slice-of-life comedy routines, disrespecting a lot of the edginess it attempts to portray. There's nothing wrong with enjoying edgy etchiness and lighthearted comedy. Only that Akame ga Kill's anime does all of these badly, and any viewer who is uninitiated to the universe, e.g. reading the manga beforehand, will have a harder time in enjoying himself fully in these aspects. We do not recommend Akame ga Kill for your viewing security, or your desecurity.